My name is Peter Holliday, and I currently serve as the Student Sports Service Director at Northern Michigan University. And one of my tasks with all my advisees is try to prepare them for exiting Northern in a positive transition. And one of the things that often gets put aside during that last year, because there's so much happening, is managing your personal finances in this transitional period. I'm going to go over a few things that you might find helpful. It's not meant to make you a financial guru, but it's kind of the tip of the iceberg of personal finance that you really need to be aware about and give you enough tools to at least begin that aspect of your life. I know it's an exciting time as you're transitioning out of Northern, but it's also stressful. There's a lot of things that are happening. You're going to be moving. You might be entering into a new job immediately or into that transitional job search period, and people get anxious. That's very normal. There's a lot of unknowns. And then there's finances. Okay, you can't control everything financial in your life. You're not that influential to change the global financial climate, but being able to get a little better handle on your own personal finances can help that transition tremendously and really help to reduce some of the stressors that you might be facing in this phase of your professional career. For most people, I like to ask them to start with developing what I call a transitional budget, and not right before exam week, to start thinking about this during your senior year, really, because this is something that takes some thought, takes some time, and also takes some financial resources. So if you can plan ahead of time and maybe put a little bit away month by month, week by week, you'll be in a better situation. And a transitional budget has to contain elements, costs like moving expenses. If you're moving from Northern, you're going out of state, what's it going to cost? Do you have a car? And if not, public transportation, buses, trains, planes, what is that going to cost you? You have to look at rent. Where am I going to stay? Maybe you have the ability to couch crash with some friends or relatives, but if you pick up an apartment, researching where you're going to go and what those costs are. And keep in mind, you're going to be an entry-level professional, so don't look high stakes apartment buildings. Look for something rational and reasonable. Food. You're going to have a food budget. You cannot continue to live only on ramen. You have to look at some reasonable nutrition out there. Phone plans. Now this is where I talked seriously about limiting your phone plan. There's Cadillac plans out there that are quite expensive, but sometimes it's necessary in that transitional period to, if you can, dump an expensive contract and pick up something a little cheaper, a little more reasonable that would fit into a budget. Those elements, if you're thinking ahead of time and starting to plan and set aside some funds, will help you out incredibly. Another step that you have to take after getting that transitional budget in place is make a visit to NMU's financial aid office. Okay? Most of us as students have had to take out student loans. Sometimes it's through the federal student aid system. Sometimes it might be alternate loan through Sallie Mae, Wells Fargo, Discover, or another private source. But our financial aid office has incredible expertise in helping you understand your total loan balances and also what is it going to look like in terms of my repayment? How much am I going to have to pay on a monthly basis? When does all this start? Long ago and far, far away, when I graduated from Northern, if you borrowed X amount of dollars, you had a set amount that you had to pay each month. In the past decade, federal student aid has revamped repayment processes to try to develop a plan that'll fit you. So there's multiple plans that you can investigate that could help you, especially as a young professional, get into a repayment plan, but one that's not going to burden you too much and will help you stay in good standing with repayment and avoid any type of default. And that's one thing you don't want to do. But it's incredibly important that you get your questions answered before you leave Northern, because as I said, financial aid at Northern, the office is an incredible resource. The other thing you can investigate during your last semester, keeping that transitional budget in mind, is do I have any access to additional aid? Now, I might have maybe $1,000 left in loan balances, and I'm not one to say take everything every semester. You take what you need. But If you find that, oh, that extra $1,000 that I took as a student loan under relatively low interest would be far more advantageous than going out and putting everything on a high interest credit card. Now, I did this after leaving graduate school. I had some loan eligibility. I took $2,500 out in 1984, but that helped with renting the U-Haul. It helped with a deposit on our house that we were renting, other moving expenses. I had to get more professional level clothing, all of those things that I didn't think about at first and thought I had enough money, and then no. So that additional student loan was very low interest, but it really helped carry over to get a good start in my career. And I had to be disciplined. We had some of that left over, and I could have spent it somewhere else, but we turned it back to the principal so we could get that loan down a little bit lower. Additional aid, if you're eligible, to help with that transitional period, good thing to do. So what do you do next? You're out on your first job, you're in your first place. This is where you really have to take a serious look at your expenditures, developing a budget. People hate that idea, how do I do it? But you really have to have a good handle on the money coming in, as well as your obligations, money going out, whether it's rent, food, transportation, student loan repayment. All of those factors have to be considered in your budget. I've been fortunate to work with a number of financial advisors, typically nonprofits, to get some guidance myself, and each one swears by this tactic. You have to get a handle on your expenses, and it can't be just overnight, oh, I think I do this, this, and this. Tracking your expenditures and your payments for a minimum of a month, but preferably for a 2 to 3 month period, will really help you get a handle on your financial situation. Much more realistic. And having accurate information will then help you in that transitional period. Can't say enough about that. It's tedious, it's not always fun, and it's really tempting to cheat a little bit. But if you do this in an honest way, it will give you excellent start to understanding your finances. Now, I tell students, just like when I'm working with freshmen and I'm trying to get the freshmen to use a planning device of some kind, be it paper, be it electronic, some students will say, oh, I can keep it in my head. And I say, oh, no, you can't. Same thing with finances. You have to find some type of mechanism to help you track and plan your budgeting and your finances. I have never met anyone who can do it in their head. I'm sure that person might exist. You could ask Sheldon Cooper, I don't know, but it's not me. And one of the problems that you face, if you Google personal finance or personal budgets, you're going to get 3, 4, 5 million hits. Some of these hits might be credible, a lot of it is garbage. I go to 3 conventional sources that have been incredibly helpful that often get overlooked. The first one is a nonprofit called the National Endowment for Financial Education. Excellent organization that Northern actually partners with for the access to their Cash Course financial literacy program. But the National Endowment for Financial Education has a wealth of resources to help young adults, adults, all aspects of your finances, from budgeting to understanding credit reports, credit card debt, financing homes, transitional periods as we're talking about. Excellent source to review and highly credible. Another source that gets overlooked is the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. We think of that as the organization that insures all our bank accounts. They also have a division that focuses on financial education, and again provides excellent tools that are reviewed, updated on a regular basis. They're credible. It's, again, another nonprofit that's in the business not only to insure your accounts, but to help you understand finances. The third organization is one people used to think about only for bankruptcy, Commercial Credit Counseling Services. And they started their existence in the 50s when credit cards came out and people got buried in credit card debt. And this organization was formed to help get them out of debt. But since then, they've evolved into a branch that has financial literacy education for anybody. Again, excellent resources, and these are credible resources for budgeting, for understanding credit, credit cards, debit cards, everything you might come across in your day-to-day life. And again, millions of people use them, they're tested, and they all 3 organizations have contacts, so if you have questions, you can email, you can chat, you can pick up a phone and call, and they'll help you out. Now, for those of you who are more into mobile apps, one of the apps that has come out that is highly tested and receives rave reviews from one of my coworkers is called You Need a Budget. And You Need a Budget can be downloaded as a student. It's free, but it gives you a trial to understand basic financial planning, again, that money in, the money out. It's all electronic version of some of the other resources I mentioned before. Now, as you move into the professional field, there is a charge for that. It's about $35 a year. It's highly advantageous because for a lot of folks, it's mobile. You can pick it up on your phone. You can do your work right there. It's instantaneous, and it's good. Which one works for you? It's going to be dependent. But the one thing you do have to commit to when you look at financial management, financial planning for yourself, is that time commitment. Okay? It's easy to give lip service. It's easy to think about it. But if you can commit to something for a minimum of 30 days, but preferably several months, that same system, chances are you'll start seeing some benefits. You'll start feeling better. You'll get an understanding and at least a little more control over your finances. The more you feel in control, the less anxiety you might experience. You have enough of that going on with this transitional period. I would encourage you to follow some of these steps. Again, this isn't going to work for absolutely everybody, but it should give you a basic guideline to begin accessing some of the financial tools you'll need to help you move on, be successful, and just feel better about this new period in your life. I think the first goal is to be realistic. Okay? And being realistic is understanding what your expenses are and where your income's at. This is where people get in trouble living beyond their means. So understanding your income, understanding your financial obligations, money going out is huge. Rent, any fees that you have to pay for shelter, place to live, that's the one you can't avoid. You need that. Food, you do have options for food, and sometimes folks on hard times have to maybe access a food pantry or freebies. But more importantly, learn how to cook, because eating at restaurants, fast food is incredibly expensive. So get a handle on your food costs. So good luck to all of you.